Good evening, everyone. I'm going to ask for your patience until our guest gets in, which is Major Prather, and also Jeremy, he's co-host here, and I don't see him here yet. So I'm just going to give him a couple minutes while they get here. Thank you. I just hope that that the criminals don't do their little hacking uh, tricks, because it gets tiresome after a little while. Hi there, Major. Can you please ask to speak so I can send you the approval? There we go. Okay, Jeremy, welcome. I'm going to have you as co-host here. Welcome everybody, and welcome Major Prather. I am so honored to have you. We're going to turn the tables today, and we're going to be asking you the questions. So I just want to give a little introduction for those of you that do not know about this amazing patriot. He is a retired major from the Army. He's been targeted since 2004. He served in military intelligence, psychological operations, and special forces. He's a former defense intelligence officer that served in special mission intelligence unit. He worked the Contras and saw the Oliver North cover-up debacle, build the Clinton death cartel via the CIA, cocaine, and Contras, which is something that I want to speak about the terrorism, the executive order, and the impact that whatever you can talk about. He's an ex-DEA special agent, firearms instructor, and snowcap operator, fired with 19 years on the job, just 1 year short from retirement for being a whistleblower about DA's deal with the Sinaloa cartel to run drugs north for fast, furious guns south. Subsequently verified, corroborated in the Niebla Zabada federal trial. Never charged, never convicted. And most importantly, he's a chaplain. So welcome, Major Prather. And if you can honor us with a short prayer to cover and hover over this X space before we proceed, I would be very much appreciative of it.
Certainly, I'd be honored. So sit up or stand up straight. Breathe in through your nose. Pause. Exhale through your mouth. Just let go of thoughts. Abum Devashaya, Father in heaven, pray to you in the Christ connection to receive the Ruach Kadesh, the great Holy Spirit, to give us the discernment to move forward and do your will, and the deliverance to be able to execute it. In the Shem of Yeshua HaMashiach, in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Okay. Well, Targeted Justice created the space to support veterans that have served our nation and then find themselves being a targeted individual. So we'd like to know, can you please give us some background? Where were you born? How was your bringing up like? How did you end up being in the Army?
Sure. So there's no camera with this, right? This is just audio.
No,
is that right?
it's only voice. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I am actually a orphan. I'm adopted. I'm actually a product of rape. I know that because my wife found my birth mom much later in my life, but I was really blessed because, she did not abort me. She had me, and I was adopted by a great family who, brought me up. I went to the best private schools in Cincinnati. I was a Catholic orphanage, Catholic grade school, Catholic high school, initially Catholic college. Not Catholic now, but very appreciative of my Catholic roots, and have always tried to give back because I was so blessed, early on, so many ways. As for joining the Army, my adopted dad, who adopted me, and then my brother, and then my sister, and then my other sister, was and is a role model for me, and he is a World War II veteran. and he's a sailor. And among us veterans, we really look up on the World War II veterans because next to World War I, that was really the roughest war, and they were so selfless. So we really honor them. So like most veterans whose dads or granddads are veterans, that's where I got my yearning to serve and follow in his footsteps. And I don't regret it at all. I've never met a veteran who regretted it, even though it was rough, terrible at times. But I've trained a lot of surgeons and dentists and firearms and stuff that regret never serving.
Okay. So, what was your military career like?
My military career was really exceptional again. So I got to go to airborne school as a cadet, a couple slots on ROTC cadet. I'm not an academy guy, thank God. And so because I already spoke Spanish and had worked in South America, I was branched military intelligence, and I was already airborne. So I wanted to go to Fort Bragg to Special Operations Command, and there everybody's airborne. To get into SOCOM, you got to be airborne. And because I already was, I got to go into Special Operations Command, which is now United States Special Operations Command, as a second lieutenant. And I went into psychological operations, funny enough, ironically, and I commanded an airborne operational detachment where we jumped loudspeakers and we would attach and jump with the Rangers and Special Forces. And at that time in the 80s, Nicaragua was hot, and so I was jumping into Honduras, into Mocoron on the border of Nicaragua with the Rangers and with Special Forces. And I ended up working the Contra issue as well. And I saw that go bad with Ollie North. We were doing everything legally, but there was a point where I had been in Panama in plainclothes for about 9 months, working in some tunnel. And I had to cut my hair, put on my Class A's and my beret, and go sit behind the Colonel Fry of commanding of Special Operations Command South. And the reason is because Ollie North was before Congress in trouble. And the question was, are we going to end up in trouble? And the answer was, no, we're not. We're doing everything legal. We're doing everything chartered. And I saw North, via Reagan, build the Clinton cartel of death through the CIA, the cocaine, Contras, and the cash, and Iran, which is just a way for what ended up happening is CIA had a lot of black money that way, off the books money, and that was happening in Mena, Arkansas, where the Clintons were, and so I saw that go, horribly wrong. We did it right. I want to emphasize in Special Forces, we did everything correct. The CIA, did everything, and Oliver North did everything wrong. So I've never thought of Ollie North as a hero, although most people have. So that was my first introduction to covert operations. And the thing about covert operations is you should always ask yourself, if we're found out, is it worth being found out? And usually it's not. And then you don't do them. But, a Marine colonel, staff colonel, had no concept of how to run covert operations. That's something Special Forces does, but not the Marines. So that was my introduction to how bad covert operations can go wrong. And because I was deploying all the time with Special Forces, they knew me, they liked me. So I made a nuisance of myself in PSYOPs, and I got transferred over to 7th Special Forces Group, and I loved that. And that's where I got to go to Special Forces schools and qualifications and Special Operations shooting schools, and just had a great time. In fact, 7th group is the group that just went into Mexico. That's my old group that just went into Mexico. I just did a show today talking about how that's a good mission, and it's not Vietnam, and it's exactly the right unit and training exactly the right people. But that's my active duty military career. And then I left the active duty military because they wouldn't let me go Special Forces branch. Special Forces had just established themselves as a branch. I was military intelligence branch. There's never enough military intelligence branch officers because of the difficulties of clearance. And so I left active duty to join the DEA that I had run into in Panama before the invasion. There was a team, another Special Forces team training some long-haired guys. I thought they were CIA, they were DEA. And, I was a Spanish-speaking Special Forces military intelligence guy with special operations shooting skills. They couldn't wait to, recruit me to DEA and to SNOCAP. Left active duty, went to the FBI Academy, which housed the DEA Special Agent Program in 1990. Became a DEA Special Agent. In 1990, became a DEA special firearms instructor in 1993 because I learned how to shoot with Delta Force and Special Forces guys, and became a SNOCAP special operator. Went back to Central and South America with DEA in the 90s then, and was also recruited simultaneously by the Defense Intelligence Agency, a special unit inside there. So I was dual credentialed. I was a DEA credentialed special agent and a DIA intelligence officer, and I was also inside a special unit. So I saw a lot of stuff. And I saw it from the inside, if that all makes sense.
Well, the sense I make out of that is that you lived a life of a thriller movie. with all of that. That's so impressive. When you were in these in all of these capabilities, did you hear about the targeting program? Had you ever heard about the targeting program? I don't know if I mentioned to everybody, Major Prather was targeted in 2004. So had you heard about the program prior to being targeted?
No, and it's Prather, by the way, but
I'm sorry. I hope you excuse it's English is my second language.
No se preocupe, está bien. No problemas. Okay. Pero, let's do it in English. Hablemos en inglés, ¿verdad?
Yeah.
So I hadn't heard about it, but I know when I was targeted because at first I didn't know. So, in 2003, I was recalled to active duty for the Second Gulf War. I volunteered on 9/11. They didn't take me. I didn't volunteer for the Second Gulf War, and they took me because I was dual credentialed. Again, I was called to the Defense Intelligence Agency to stand up their counterterrorism group because they wanted MI guys with guns. But while I was doing that, my informant, I was extraditing the first Sinaloa cartel leader, and that's in the news again today. Miguel Caro Quintero, brother of Rafael, who tortured and murdered our agent Kiki Camarena. It's very, very famous. Lots of movies, books about that. Turns out there was a CIA guy there when they were torturing Kiki to death, who was a former Marine. Well, the first extradition would be a sea change because these guys lived like kings in their palace prisons. So this was a big deal because the Sinaloa cartel is now again in the news because it is like a government. It is a part of the Mexican government. And the DEA had a deal with the Sinaloa cartel to run drugs north. That's what came out eventually, but not at this time, in exchange for the fast and furious guns going south. So my informant, when I went on active duty, there was no one taking care of my informant anymore. And we had put an extradition package together that was going to the government of Mexico. It was very high level stuff. And instead of paying this guy $10,000 a month as Miguel Caro Quintero was extradited and then comes to trial, where I could control my informant and make him testify. The head of DEA made me pay him in $250,000 increments. Normally, the lifetime cap for a DEA informant is $250,000. I paid this guy multiple times. But of course, he had almost no motive to stick around. And they fronted the package to the Mexican government, which is like a death sentence. And he didn't want me to WITSEC him, to put him in the witness protection program. So he decides to sue the DEA administrator. So I get a call from DEA while I'm on active duty, and they said, "Hey, you got to come over to headquarters." Well, I had staff in the Pentagon, and so it wasn't hard. I worked at Clarendon, but I had staff in the Pentagon. So I just went across the street to DEA headquarters and went up to see the informant coordinator, and they straightened it out and said, "No, he's suing for the $5 million State Department reward. That's not part of the agreement." But then I said, "But Michelle Leonhardt, the head of the administrator for DEA, who had been a DOJ attorney, along with Karen Tandy, who had been a DOJ attorney and a DEA administrator as well, destroyed my case." When that happened, then I went back to work and didn't think anything. But then all of a sudden I was targeted by OPR, Officer of Professional Responsibility, and they just hounded me. So my targeting was very obvious, and I knew who was doing it, but I didn't understand why initially. And it wasn't well, I mean, they tapped my phones, but it wasn't the radiation targeting that you're mostly familiar with. But I did come to a realization that, the government that I thought was the good guys were really the bad guys. And from 2004 to 2009, until when they fired me, they slandered me, they set me up, they lied about me, to my children, to my ex-wife, to, everything. And it was really a very difficult time. And that was the first time I was targeted. I was targeted many times. And then electronically for me, it was, because I'm, on the internet, shows, podcasts and stuff, slandering me in that way. That was my, targeting, initially, that I knew about. And then later on, Sasha Atipova, who is a former Ukrainian, now American, now patriot. She's pretty famous. She's been on my show a couple of times, too. She showed me that I was on a list, and it was a DIA list, and then I just had Jake Lang on a while back, and Jake said that he got in trouble because he was on my podcast because they knew who I was. So, they've been targeting me for a long time. But
well, Jake Lang, yesterday and today was, not allowed in APAC.
In
right?
CPAC. Yeah, I know. I had him on my show today. And I said to Jake, they should be the keynote speakers, but here they are throwing you out. That's because it's a club. It's a Rhino Cabal club. And I said to Jake, and you and I ain't in it.
Well, but does Jake, this is because I wrote a post today, does Jake know that J6ers are on the terrorist screening database and that they are targeted individuals? Are they aware of that fact?
I assume I've interviewed Jake several times. I assume he knows that, but maybe not. And Vandersteel knows that very well. My friend Ann, I know it, that I'm on that list. And the problem with that list is, so when you're different, every federal agency has a database. For the DEA, it was NATIS, Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs Information System. So that's where I'd go to look for crooks and run license plates and stuff. The FBI has NCIC, the National Criminal Information System. And the problem with the terrorist watch list is there's no evidence there because it's intelligence, but that coincides and comes up with NCIC now, along with people's records, where if you go into NCIC or if you go into NATIS or if you go into the customs text database, it's like, okay, he's running dope or he's convicted or whatever, where is the terrorist watch list is just very subjective. But it pulls up with and is thought of by law enforcement as that you are a criminal or a terrorist, which is why law enforcement who don't know any better, especially beat cops, are then hostile oftentimes to liberty-minded people because they're being misrepresented. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they absolutely. They're told when they're in the computer in their cars, it shows this is a suspected terrorist. Go see what you can find around his car and see if you can frame him for something, basically. But yeah, when the law enforcement officer approaches you, he thinks you're a terrorist. So they have a reason to even believe, to be a little scared for themselves, right?
Right. And you said frame them, and so I wouldn't say frame, but you're not far off. Because when I would be working a drug case, they wouldn't know I was a DEA agent. So if I sold a bad guy drugs and they drove away, I had to take those drugs off the street. So otherwise I was a drug dealer. That's what the Fast and Furious guns were. They were gun running because they never took them off the street. But I would have a highway patrolman or a sheriff's deputy or somebody pull the car over and say, hey, you were weaving, or your taillight's out, or hey, you were speeding, and, I'll just give you a warning, but, my canine's been sitting in the car all day. Do you mind if I just let him run around your car for fun, for exercise? Because you don't have any drugs or guns, right? And then, of course, the guys say, well, yeah, and then, the dog would hit, you get the drugs. They would never know that, I had done that I had taken off the drugs. That's how it's supposed to be done. But the initial stop was a ruse. And so when you say frame, I would say a ruse. But okay. That's on the basic level.
Major, I have a question.
Sure.
Okay. This is an interesting topic because I'm well aware of this and how it plays out because I've been a confidential informant to help. When an undercover officer, I guess it's maybe different for federal agents to do this, but when would that ever hold up in court, or would you look for a deal? Does that make sense? Like, because he could easily call you out as the person who sold it, or would you have to go through somebody to do that?
Oh yeah, no. At that point, eventually the arrest will be made, and I'll go to court.
Right.
But if I don't take the drugs off, if you were a high-profile drug dealer and you brought your high-profile attorney, then you'd say, well, Special Agent Prather, did you sell my client 8 kilos of cocaine? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, so you want to put my client in jail for being a drug dealer, right? Yeah. I said, yeah. Well, what happened to the 8 kilos of cocaine after you sold it? I go, well, I don't know. I guess he sold it to women and children, and he's pimping women and children, and, it's addicting out there. I don't know. And so the lawyer would say, well, then Special Agent Prather, the difference between you and my client. And the answer would be nothing. So that's why we always had to take the drugs off. That's what made Fast and Furious so egregious, because there was no effort to ever take the drugs off. It was simply gun running. And they took him out of the trial of Brian Terry, who was murdered, the Border Patrolman murdered. And I worked with Border Patrol all the time and BORTAC all the time. So that's the way it works. But a ruse to stop somebody is common. But there's a much worse part of this, and this is where DEA is really integral in this, is DEA, and I'm not revealing anything classified, even though I don't have a clearance anymore. But this has been exposed in Revolver articles. But DEA has a unit called Special Operations Group. The Special Operations Group in DC sits on one side is all the intelligence agencies that run signals intelligence and message intelligence, MASIT and SIGINT. And those are classified intercept systems. Originally, by the way, DEA established one of these because I'm an old timer with Colombian phone calls to America, which was legit, but they couldn't afford it, so they handed it off to the CIA. Because DEA, when I came on, did good work. It wasn't corrupted yet. But anyway, they gather these signals intelligence, and then they, which is classified intelligence, and it's overseas, OCONUS intelligence. And then, if it ties into something, in America, they pass it on, cause on the other side of the room is sitting all the federal law enforcement agencies, FBI, DEA, DHS, HSI, Customs, ICE, all of those. And so then they pass this intelligence to them and say, now you can use this as evidence, but you're going to have to develop your own probable cause, your own parallel probable cause. Well, that's fruit of the poisonous tree because they're not revealing the sources and methods that came from intelligence, because intelligence, like for SIGINT, that's only supposed to be used for national defense, but they pass it. And this has now become commonplace. This is done all the time. And so this is what, when you saw Flynn, General Flynn's a friend. I don't always agree with him, but he's a friend, is when they outed his signals communications. That's a felony to do that. And then doing the same thing with Trump over and over. That, the ruse to stop a car is not a big deal. But passing signals intelligence to federal law enforcement and developing parallel probable cause, which is really fruit of the poisonous tree, is a legal term of art. That's where this really gets bad. And they do it all the time now. All the time. And that's why you see them always make it. That's why you saw them try to make the Trump intelligence case, which was a joke, from the beginning, because then they can always keep it classified. And that's also what they're doing against targeted individuals. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah.
National security.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, what groups do you think are particular? The intelligence, we know it's intelligence community, but do you have an idea of what groups specifically are behind the targeting program?
Well, I've had you on my show. I've had several other targeted individuals, and I can't think of her name, but she was former NSA. And
Karen.
Yeah, and I've worked a lot with NSA, and I've worked with NRO, National Reconnaissance Offices, and I am aware of MASINT, message intelligence, and the way a lot of that works. And of course, the Havana syndrome stuff has come out as well. So I think it is through special units within the NSA and NRO, and to a lesser extent the CIA. People think CIA, but the big dog in the intelligence world is the NSA. They're the big dog, really. CIA is kind of clumsy and clowns in action, but I think it's in special units in that area. I do have some expertise in a military special operations intelligence unit, but those going after, drug dealers and stuff. But I think now a lot of that has been turned against the American people. I think that's where the electronic and radiological targeting comes in.
Do you believe, that President Trump declared the drug cartels as terrorist organizations? And it is my understanding that a lot of the funding for the black projects, such as this program, comes from drug trafficking and human trafficking. Do you believe that in any way that could have an impact on the funding of this program?
Oh yeah, I think it's huge. I just did a whole show on that today. When I said initially, Trump has declared a two-war front on the deep state, which is basically the intelligence community, and the global cabal, which is the international intelligence community, and the other is on the drug cartels. which are stronger than governments, especially the Sinaloa cartel that, I was fighting. And so with special forces going in there to start developing relationships and doing some training, Trump is really negotiating from a position of strength with Sheinbaum, who is totally captured by the cartels. And so that's the beginning to cut this off. But it's going to be decades. It's going to take decades to do this. And if that is the case, I think we will find CIA deeply involved, like CIA spy planes and drones, also flying alongside Air Force spy planes and drones. Well, why do you need both? Well, I think the Air Force is reporting back to the commander in chief, and I think the CIA drones are reporting to the cartels. Why do I say that? Because when I was a snowcap operator with DEA, I found out afterwards that the CIA spy planes were reporting our team positions to the cartels because they now have this drug relationship that's been going ever since the Contras. And so really the two war front is a one war front, but it's all good. And it's a long fight, and it's just getting started. And it's not about Green Berets going down there and shooting everybody up. It's about building strength. Foreign Internal Development is called a FID mission with the Mexican Marines, who are the least corrupted and intimidated by the cartels because, like American Marines, they have a lot of esprit.
Wow. What do you think can be done to shut down this program?
Well, so I saw one of your questions you sent me is Hegseth going to be shutting this down? And the first thing is,
yeah.
So let me say that is no, I don't think he's going to. I know that's not what you want to hear, but I will follow that by saying I'm always hopeful because I am faith-filled. But Hegseth has got so much to do first. Get rid of the training troops, make the force lethal again. I mean, he has got his hands full. I don't think he's very aware of the targeted individuals, and I don't think he sees it as a major problem, and I don't think he even knows how to approach it. Because, I've just told you that I was an insider, and I could go into even more details, about how I know about all this stuff because I lived all this stuff. But even I wasn't, aware of it. And it's been an awakening for me, still. And I was on the inside of this. So, the Hegseth just coming in, he's got his hands full with just getting the military back to being the military and stop being trannies, and getting in shape. And he's doing a great job of that. He's out there PTing with the troops, and everything. But I doubt if he's even aware of the targeting. And if he is, I think it's going to be very low on his priority list. And I also don't think he knows how to get his arms around it, because I think it's just like with the chemtrailing, with the geoengineering. Mm-hmm. We know it's going on, but it's a very compartmented program, and it's very difficult, and even more than the chemtrails. And it's very difficult to get your arms around it. And we need to keep talking about it. That's why I'm here tonight. That's why you're here tonight. We need to make people more aware of it. And we need, we need some whistleblowers to come forward that we're doing it. That's really what we need. And under the Trump administration, I think that will occur, more. 15 years ago, when I was saying that Eric Holder's lying and the DOJ's lying and the DEA's lying, and they were slandering me and saying I was a predator and a cult leader and all this stuff, everybody was believing them and not me. And they stopped having me on Fox News and Laura Ingraham and Drudge. But now 15 years later, they're like, well, of course they're lying. That's all they do is lie. And yes, you were right. So it's a long marathon that you guys just got to be in it for the long fight. This is not going to be quick. It's not going to be easy. And it's got to become more credible. It's very important that the people, as you know, Anna, I support the targeted folks, and I've tried to work with some of them. Some of them were too unstable.
Yeah, that's what I wanted you to, I would like for you to talk about exactly that, how to effectively communicate about the program without turning off people, because I read something very intelligent from you about that. And if you could be so kind, because so we have a few people here that are in social media, if you could be so kind and explain that, because I thought it was brilliant.
Oh, well, thanks. And please ask questions. I'm here to answer your questions. And I, like right now, and I get this all the time for years, because first I was known in martial arts, and then I was known as a firearms instructor. Now I'm known as a whistleblower and a podcaster. So I've always had my share of crazies. As an agent, as a duty agent, you talk walk-ins, and the guys come in literally with the tinfoil hats, with their legal pads completely filled. That's real. And they're like, "Hey, I got to tell you this." And I'd always say, "Well, sir, you want the FBI down the street." But I thought, gosh, there's so many of these. There must be something to this. But and right now I've got, a lady calling me constantly, but she's mumbling and incoherent. So if you're going to present yourself, you've got to have discipline to be calm, because you're going to be judged immediately on your demeanor and on your tone. And if you are calm, and if you're well spoken, and you document what's happening, not that you know the sources, but you're documenting very specifically what's happening. But if you're rambling and all over the place and emotional and incoherent, cops get that stuff all the time, and they're just going to dismiss you completely. So that's the way that has to be done. And I've seen both, and I talk with, Len, and others, on the board sometimes to get a read on certain folks. And a lot of times they'll tell me, nope, this person's, not for real. Cause there's plenty of fakes in this space too, like there are in all spaces. So sincerity and authenticity and coherence, and calmness are very important if you're going to present something. You don't have to have all the answers. An investigator doesn't expect you to have all the answers. That's why you're coming to them. But you got to give them a starting place. And so that would be some kind of complaint. And a complaint is, hey, I have been harmed. Okay. That's the basis for a criminal complaint or a civil complaint. I have been harmed. Okay. How do we document that you have been harmed? And that needs to be documented in detail. And then from there, either you're developing a criminal complaint or a civil suit, or whatever. But, so many people just, want to say, go get them. Even, very well-meaning folks, even my peerage in the Liberty luminary space, my friend Ann Vandersteel the other day just said, President Trump, where's the arrest warrants for the Biden crime cartel? The Justice Department's in a shambles. The case files are, messed up and destroyed, and the agents are all corrupted, and the AUSAs is corrupted. This is going to take a while to straighten out. Does that all make sense anyway?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Anna, can I ask him a question?
Sure.
Major, have you ever heard of someone being interrogated through voice to skull communication?
Interrogated? No. I am familiar with voice to skull. I've even had on somebody about voice to skull. I know voice to skull is real because you can have instead of putting a mic in your ear, you can put one on your cheek, and you can transmit there. And I'm aware of
I
weaponization, but I'm not aware of interrogation.
Okay, I was getting interrogated since the end of 2021. It was about a financial crime which I wasn't even there for or knew about. And after that, I filed a FOIA with the local police department and with the South Carolina State Attorney General. And the Attorney General sent me back a letter saying they could not release the records. So I sent in the information that I was being interrogated with, trying to figure out what, who, if it was an open investigation. And I got a letter back, and it said that they could not release the records because because it would show possible circumvention of law, and it would expose sources and methods of how the FBI does the work, pretty much. I posted it as the first pin on my profile, but that's it's just a weird situation because it's gotten worse since then. The voice to call is 24/7. But the zaps and the pain and all that is just, at times it's so bad where you can't even get up. But that's my testimony is in I only know that I'm under a federal investigation because they've questioned me and given me details about a crime that I didn't know about.
Well, so you said a lot in there, and I believe you, by the way.
Sure.
You said sources and methods. When you hear sources and methods, you're dealing with intelligence. Now, the FBI is not really a law enforcement organization. The FBI is an intelligence organization with law enforcement functions. That's really its storefront cover. And not only do I say that, but Garrett O'Boyle, the veteran FBI whistleblower I've also had, says the same thing. And so you've hit the intelligence side of the FBI, which is the intelligence agencies are clearly the ones, I think, doing this because it's a very clandestine program. But you're saying they're also at the same time talking about a crime, which it's got to be a federal crime for the FBI to be involved.
Yeah, it was something with fraud or something.
Yeah, but Jeremy,
it's regardless. That doesn't even matter.
From that perspective, it's worthless. It's completely worthless. I mean, they cannot carry out an interrogation that way from a legal perspective. It's just, they can't present that kind of evidence,
Yeah.
Right.
It's completely illegal. Just think about it, getting a warrant to go into your brain and interrogate you. No, it's so outrageously legal that it's just harassment.
That's what FISA is.
Well, so what? Yeah. That's what FISA. So Anna is right. So what they may be trying to do, and they tried to do this with me, they moved me from Tucson to New York in 2 weeks away from my kids, just to see if I wouldn't go because they were trying to build this fake script that I was a bad guy. They went into the arms. I had to go with another group and go on surveillance so they could go in the arms room and see if I was stealing guns and stealing ammo, and I wasn't, and everything they kept trying to do turned out that it wasn't true. But I found out it was being done by the administrator because I had outed her deal with the Sinaloa cartel. But if I hadn't gone and moved to New York, then I would have refused an order and they could just fire me for refusing a direct order, a move. So what they may be trying to do is pressure you to break you to make you do something stupid. And so then you lose your credibility and then they can go after you and lock you up for being insane or something like that. So I don't think interrogation is necessarily the right term.
Well, I used the information that I was being questioned about to file a FOIA, and that's the response I got from the Attorney General.
Yeah, but honestly, they can't. Oh,
I know. I can't prove that.
everybody
I
says, and
I
everybody.
don't know which agent's doing this, so I can never like file any kind of lawsuit or anything because I don't like. Other than that, it's just it falls apart.
Well, like I said,
Okay,
I didn't know. I can only relate back to, what happened to me is when this started, uh, I thought it was pretty silly. And then I thought it was this OPR guy who was a jerk coming after me. I thought it was a rogue OPR guy when it turned out that I was being, that my case was being, they made me a major target. As I was still a D agent, I was a major target, and the administrator was being briefed weekly on my case because she was worried about it. So I would say that, somehow you have, angered the higher ups, and that's why they're targeting you, and they're trying to get you to do something unstable.
something. Yeah. Now, have you ever tried to speak to anybody at the Space Force?
No, it's too brand new, and well, that's not true. I have, yeah, I have talked to them a little bit, but I'm not sure if you're talking about radiological weaponry, which does
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exist. I'm not sure that is coming from the satellites for the Space Force. From what I see, these things are very nearby. They're sometimes in trailers, sometimes in vehicles, sometimes in buildings, sometimes in towers. But transmitting that tight of a beam. Now I'm way out of my lane here, but
Okay.
transmitting that
No,
tight of a beam from
if you have.
satellites, I don't think is very feasible.
Yeah, well, Dr. Lambert went to that place. When it hits you on the top of the head, this is my understanding. On the top of your head, it's from a satellite. Anywhere else in your body comes from the cell towers. No, I was just wondering if you, because of your military background, if you had spoken to any of them. Now, let me ask you.
No, well,
Uh,
let me respond. So I've had Len on. I talked to Len. I know about the top of the head thing that fits in with the cranial meeting and also with the tinfoil hats. And so tracking people from those energy signatures is possible by the resolution of satellite imagery. I mean, in my day, it was amazing. It is that's very credible. But then, so just because you mark the target doesn't mean you can then hit the target. For example, in special forces, we have a SOFLAM. We have a big IR laser that we would mark a target with, but it's just a light. And then the jet comes in, with the smart bombs to hit the target. Or on my rifle, I have a PQ-14 that illuminates the target, but then I have to shoot the target. So I think there's two different systems happening. Make sense?
there's a lot more too, actually, but that is so classified. But yeah, the tracking comes from a satellite, from the GPS satellites.
Yeah, that is, I agree with that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So now, this is a vet call, and I know you have a few people that have requested. Let me put Isabella as a speaker. Um, so she's connecting now. I just wanted to, after you're done with Isabella, if you can also say to the vets, because for me, for example, I'm a hardworking woman, and most of the people that I know that are targeted are people like you, that they're productive member, not just productive, excellent people that have excelled in what they do. And then for you as a vet, that you have given so much to this country, how do you reconcile being targeted by sections of this country?
Is that for me or for Isabella?
Yeah, no, for you.
Oh,
Isabella's going to
oh,
answer. Yeah.
Isabella's question. Oh, well, that's great name. My daughter's name is Isabel. Um, so, first off, veterans know we're always mistreated. I mean, we were fighting for a country that did not yet exist. The Washington's troops were about to rebel until Washington calmed them down. Rudyard Kipling, it's Tommy this and Tommy that, and Tommy march behind it. It's pleased to step in front, sir, when there's trouble in the wind. That goes with being a vet. Is you're going to be abused and forgotten until things get bad, and that's kind of, I think most vets realize that. But to then be targeted or abandoned, much like the observers of the nuclear attacks exposed to the radiation, if you think about it, that's very similar. That's a betrayal of trust and a betrayal of command, and that's hard to take. And I think that's the approach. And about precedent as an attorney, and the military has plenty of precedent with misusing and abusing the troops, whether it's looking at the atomic bombs or giving syphilis to the Tuskegee Airmen or LSD or whatever. And I think that's the precedent way to approach this and build the case, which I know you're trying to do very hard. And it's outrageous. And that's a way to approach, I think, Hegseth and this administration. But there's plenty of stuff, before that, which is getting everybody back in who didn't want to take the bioweapon. I'm just saying but that's my approach to that. Does that make sense?
Hi,
Yeah.
Jeremy. Oh, can I?
There you go.
Sorry.
Go, Isabella. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, Jeremy, thank you. You're a great speaker. Yeah, I'm actually, I'm 56. I'm Canadian. I used to be a registered nurse. I ended up getting targeted through going with the Dr. Hildegard Staniger. I have Morgellons and Lyme's, and I've written 3 books upon since 2012. This has been going on with me. So I'm one of the civilian who accidentally got targeted, like set up in a bioexperimentation aspect of this. Like most of the people are probably Americans, and I'm probably one of the few Canadians. Not that that matters, but I do know a lot of things just because I was dealing with Dr. Hildegard Staniger, and she was telling me the people that were behind everything was Lockheed Martin, because it's satellite based. I have like formal reports with her and investigators who have frequencies, and she wrote up formal reports where these frequencies were coming from. So I just wanted to mention that, I don't even know how I'm in, I know how I got involved with this, but it was only because I had Morgellons and Lyme's. But there's so many people and you of all people, you're a veteran, you served your country. I think it's absolutely horrible that you got targeted because you're serving to protect your country, and then you end up being treated like that. So I'm not even involved. I wasn't even involved with any of that stuff. I'm from Nova Scotia, Canada, but I had a few, interesting aspects that got me probably into this situation that I'm in. But anyways, I know a lot, and I've talked with a lot of CIA people. I've talked with a lot of people that know stuff too, and that's what kept me here as well. And that's why I did write the books and everything. But I commend you for, going and speaking. So anyways, I just want to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabella. Thank you. I wanted to ask you, in the beginning of this conversation here, you talked about covert, and when something is covert but it's found out, it stops to be effective, right?
Right.
So, part of the work we're doing at Targeted Justice is exposing this atrocity. So, what do you think about, well, once it's exposed, let's say within the 45 days that Tulsi has to report to the government, to the president, about the abuses of the intelligence committee, community. If she does talk about this, Well, doesn't that become, take off the lid of a covert operation and make it useless?
Well, yes, that's the beginning of it, and that's a good point. She could do that. She's the DNI. She's the director of national intelligence. I used to spend a lot of time standing outside the DNI's office, and she has called out a lot of this. And most importantly, as you know, this as an attorney, it's already a matter of record that they're actually making payments for what they're calling Havana syndrome. But of course, then it doesn't go anywhere. And why doesn't it go anywhere? Because it comes out of the intelligence community. And why doesn't Congress investigate it further? Is because they're in the thrall of the intelligence community because they've been seduced and blackmailed, by the intelligence community, and they're controlled by the intelligence community. The intelligence community has spied on Congress. It's violated FISA, and they're talking about going with FISA again. But yeah, exposing it and that Gabbard is a good place to go. Much better than Haig's death, I think, because there's already evidence of that. And Isabella said something too, talking about Lockheed Martin. And yeah, a lot of these SAPs or USAPs and a SAP. So there's 3 levels of classification: it's confidential, secret, and top secret. And then there are caveats like ORCON, which is originator controlled, or no foreign dissemination. And then there are also special access programs, SAPs. But then there are that you have to be read onto. So these things would be SAPs. Only you got to have the clearance, and then you got to have the access for the program. Or they could be USAPs, which a lot of people don't even know what USAPs are, but they're unacknowledged special access programs. They're off the book special access programs. They exist. They are true covert operations. And it's very hard to get reveal those. So when you don't even know it exists, how are you going to find it? And who do you go for access to it? Because the guys doing this stuff, they're criminals. They're evil, and they're not going to, give it up. So getting inside the levels of bureaucracy are just not that easy. It's real hard to find this stuff. But it's inside a lot of times these programs like Lockheed Martin, or other big military industrial, Raytheon. The Raytheon claw, I remember, was one of the devices that are, and I've been in shops of, for example, Raytheon's bike shop, which is supposed to make cool toys like James Bond stuff to save, soldiers' lives, but it can also make, other stuff as well. And again, those are controlled access programs. So it's difficult. It's a long fight, and we're just getting into the beginning of this. And you're a plank holder in this fight, Anna.
Thank you. Can you, I work 7 days a week to run these criminal programs. So I very much appreciate, I think that our community would very much understand how, for example, when you have a security clearance, you cannot talk like this program. It's estimated it's in a level 35. There's a level 35 called ultra. So like, somebody that has a security clearance for this program cannot tell the gang stalker on the street about it. Can you explain a little bit about how jealous, not jealous, but how zealous you are about, or strict about, these security clearances, and how you cannot speak to anybody that doesn't have this clearance?
Well, yeah, I mean, you sign documents that say you can't talk about this, and then you sign. Getting a security clearance is a big deal. There's a background investigation, then there's a SBI special background investigation. It's got to be updated every 5 years. It's very expensive to do that. It's very valuable to have one. I don't have one anymore, but I had one. I had 2 actually. I had a Department of Defense top secret special compartment information clearance and a Department of Justice top secret simultaneously, which is one reason why I could see a lot of stuff. But it's very difficult to get those, and very valuable to have them. But the gang stalker won't be told any of that and won't be read onto that. He's not allowed to be read onto that. What would happen is, hey, this is a bad guy, or this is a terrorist at that level. So, go puncture his tires or whatever. But, no details at the lower levels. And that's a big mistake, I think, civilians make when they say, isn't the military, I heard this all the time, isn't the military going to rise up and save us from Obama or from Pedo Joe or whatever, as if the military is a singular entity and they're all on the same sheet of music, where you've got, privates, out of high school, and, generals, and then functioning majors and captains and first sergeants and gunnery sergeants and sergeant majors and warrant officers, and at all different kinds of levels. And most of them aren't aware of this stuff. What I call fifth generational warfare. Fifth generational warfare doesn't even look like warfare. And this generation has been fighting GWAT, government war on terror, for 20 years. They know what that looks like. And so they tend to think that all war looks like that. And we're done with that. We're now into fifth generation warfare that doesn't even look like warfare, that you don't even know you're under attack. The first rule of war is to know when you're in one, know when you're under attack. It's even hard to even know that. And I know that from my personal experience, because I didn't know that I was being targeted for a long time. It took me a long time to figure that out. So the lower rung gang stalking stuff, no, they're not going to be told any details. They're not going to be read on to anything. They're just going to say, hey, this is national security stuff, this terrorist guy, bad gal, you got to go do this. Does that make sense?
Is, oh God, yes. And that is so valuable, at least because many people in our community think that the neighbor or the gang stalker actually is the same as the people, perpetrators at an upper level, the ones that are doing it out of malice. They really think that we're criminals and terrorists. So that's why they do it. Okay. There's another person, that had, a silent Armando. Do you want to have a question?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing out there? This is Armando with the Silent Night. How you doing, Jeffrey?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Really, I know I wasn't really quite ready yet. I was, but let's see.
We can come back to you if you're not.
Yeah, I think,
Okay,
we can
because
come
I
back.
have somebody that has waited for a long time. So let me.
hmm
First, I don't want to keep Jeffrey that long because he has been so amazing to us. So we're gonna be wrapping up in like 10 minutes. But there you go, Mashanali.
Yep,
Yeah,
don't
go
hear.
ahead. No, I can't hear it either. It's probably hello. No. No, I can't. It's
Okay.
there we go. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, we have Jeremy. Okay, Jeremy, you had requested. Okay, let me add you there. Here you go, Jeremy. Go ahead.
Brief contact with the Space Force. Can you reveal any information on the Department of Homeland Security when they came in 2003? If you had anything, because I think it's under their umbrella with all of this targeting program. I can't prove it, but it feels like the terrorist watch list increased from like 100,000 to 2 million in that 17 years, since they've been implemented, and, the FBI falls under them, as well as all the other intel agencies.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. The proposal for DHS was sitting around, and then after 9/11, they wanted to do something real quick, and they dusted that off and went with that. I remember that, very clearly because I was on the job then, and that was a massive increase in federal reach, because it just encompassed everything. For example, me, when I was a DEA special agent, all I operated under was Title 21 USC, US Code 841A1, possession with intent to distribute. That's all I could arrest anybody for. The FBI and the U.S. Marshals have broad range, but if you're ICE or Customs, that's just in that area. If you're Border Patrol, it's just in that area. And DHS got this massive overreach. And again, it is mixing intelligence with law enforcement, which doesn't work well at all. And initially, DHS came into federal law enforcement. A lot of it was through Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Customs in the old days, I was around when it was still Customs. Why Customs? Because Customs has special agents. Border Patrol doesn't. They're just agents. And that's the border. That's protecting stuff coming in. So DHS naturally fell under that originally. Now later on they get their own DHS agents and their HSI guys, which of course have proved to be very incompetent because they've got all this overreach, and they're not very specialized in what they do. And they've also become very corrupt over the years. And corruption breeds incompetence. If you're going to be a skilled undercover guy, it takes a lot of training to do that. If you're going to be a skilled tactical guy like I was, it takes a lot of training and time to do that. But if you're just making up cases, like most of the FBI's terrorist cases, I think 17 or 18 of their 2021 Muslim terrorist cases, they just created. They just found some hapless Muslim kid and gave him fake explosives and a target, and then ran the whole thing and controlled the whole thing. It's not real. In my day, we called that entrapment, but somehow they are able to get away with that. And I've had my friend Ed Morales, the real FBI hero agent, the hero of the Miami gunfight on, who did undercover for me, and he agrees that's entrapment. In our day, that'd be entrapment. That would never fly. But because it falls under national security, the FBI and the DHS has sold this to the federal courts. But I think it's a travesty and should be reversed. That's my input onto my experience with DHS.
Yeah, well, and Rand Paul is taking over now, and I think he's going to be doing a really good job of supervising the I think it's $110 billion budget of that agency that they didn't even know how they were spending that money. So, and I just, what's your take on how, the integration of military and DHS on the border and the job they're doing?
Well, I think that's fine. The least corrupted and best respected by the American people are the military, and they should be. There's a selfless sacrifice. There's an ethic, that you're willing to fight, kill, and die. It's very different. I can tell you when I went from the military to law enforcement, and I refer to myself as major because I'm really proud of my military service. I don't really, I don't say ex-special agent or ex-intelligence officer, so, and there's nothing wrong with putting the military on the border. That's not a violation. It's a misinterpretation of posse comitatus. It's if you are using them inside the country, like the British were, coming in and searching our houses and taking our houses. That's what that was all about. But as far as repelling invaders from coming in, that's exactly what the military is for. And they've got the 101st, the old airborne, they're air mobile now, but the storied 101st, the 101 military police are direct action arresting. And the 10th Mountain is down there. 10th Mountain is elite infantry guys. And I'm all good with getting serious about that, because it'll never work on the border with Border Patrol and ICE and law enforcement trying to go against paramilitary and paraintelligence cartels. They're going against armies, and armies have to go against armies. Policemen going against armies don't work. It has never worked. So I think that is good, and I'm not worried about the military being on the border at all, or overreach at all.
No, that's a great point, because it seems the weapons and the equipment that the cartels have will absolutely defeat the border patrol's equipment, right?
Oh, yes, and they've got marked vehicles. They've got marked cartel vehicles, and they've also bought off parts of the Mexican army. There's no secret about that. There've been, Mexican Blackhawks coming onto American soil. They've shot American citizens, and in previous administrations, they've gotten away with that. And now with 7th Group, my old group, going down there, you really got to take the measure. Could the cartels hit the SF guys? Yeah, they could, but what would be the response? Do you really want to hit Trump's troops? And I don't think the cartels are that stupid.
No, no. Okay, well, let's give an opportunity again, Mashanali. I gave you the opportunity again. I don't know if you can speak. If not, we're going to have to wrap it up. Try it, because I sent you again the speaking. So, okay, you guys, you have to understand, this is a miracle that we were able to have this space pretty smoothly, because on prior occasions we've had a lot of hacking. So, if can you speak? I don't know how to pronounce your name. Excuse me, Mashanali. No, it's not letting it go through. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Jeffrey. It's being, I know that it's being, for me, it's being very enlightening, and I'm sure that for the rest of the people. And I really, really appreciate, your support, and particularly your support of targeted justice, because we're fighting like you are. We're fighting the bad guys. We're trying to make this a better world and set everybody free from the torture of this program that is just so atrocious. So if you have anything to say before we conclude.
No, just
go ahead. Sorry. Major, I was going to ask, it seems like you do podcasts, or you speak, or have a show or something that I was unaware of. It's a pleasure hearing you talk. I very much enjoy when other veterans have insight. So I'd like to know where we could find more of you, if that's possible.
Let me advertise myself. So JeffreyPrather.com, JeffreyPrather.com is my website. Real nice website, really informative stuff. Watch the Taken video. And then my podcasts, I've been doing them since 2018. When I get kicked off the radio and got kicked off YouTube, I'm on Rumble, Cloud Hub. I'm on X Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. Central Time. And like today, I had on Jake Lang, and I was delving into deeply about the Special Forces mission in Mexico and why it's not Vietnam 2.0, and why it could overthrow the corrupt government of Mexico. And that would be a good thing. And if you're a veteran, I've had on the horse soldiers. I've had on the Green Berets who overthrew the Taliban government. I've had on Ed Morales, the hero of the Miami gunfight. I've had on Chad Ball once, the Green Beret who wouldn't shoot the little girls in Iraq, and fought his way out. I have I've trained with lots of giants and heroes. And so you'd probably really like my show, The Prather Point, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And if you can't make it live, you can always pick it up on my website, jeffreyprather.com. It's on Rumble, Cloud Hub, X. You can follow me on all those. Thanks for making me plug myself.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, on behalf of everybody, I want to thank you so much for your all the knowledge and the wisdom that you have shared with us. And we are gonna be having next week. We're gonna have again the V2K and children uh, space. Remember, what we're trying to do here is provide you with support and a community where you're not alone, because sometimes it's just so hard to wage this war on your own. And so you're not alone. We're here in a solid community to help you out. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeremy. And good night.
Thank you. God bless.
God bless. Qué lindo.
Good night. Thank you.
Night.